thank you everyone for joining us today on the Brown Dad. We've got a very, very special guest. We've got I had to look actually at my notes, a director of development and sales, product development and sales, but more importantly, a very, very creative force in all types of art. Allan Mathews, please say hello to our viewers and introduce yourself.
Hey guys, thank you for having me right now on this program. And thank you for the time to get on this program. But like I asked you before, I don't know what I'm getting into here. So they told me it's a Brown Dad interview. Right?
Yeah,
I am Brown. I am a dad. So here we go.
That's it. You fit our criteria. That's perfect.
To give you a little background about myself, I came into Canada in 2005.
Yes.
Arrived here in 2005. It's been almost like this year, November will make 16 years I'm here. I've always been familiar with Canada because I used to travel a lot from my days back in India.
Right.
I used to come to Canada and visit for work. So I was familiar with the country.
Right.
And so I didn't know anything about it, but destiny had it that, we came here to settle.
Right.
And started my journey here, and it's been now 16 years, and I say it's been 16 wonderful years that we've been here. It's a whole lot of different life from back home.
Yeah.
But, it's been wonderful though.
Quite a journey, right? Quite a journey.
Quite a journey.
So let's start at the beginning of that journey, Allan. So because one of the things we do here at the Brown Dad is we always showcase, the dads and then their dads. So we see that entire journey of how it is taken. That being said, would you like to share any tidbits about your dad? How was it like growing up in India way back when? And what was your experience, growing up over there at that time?
Well, to begin my journey as relationship with my dad, it was quite I call it the Santa Claus relationship. My mom was from a small town in South India called Mysore.
Right.
Anyone would know about it. It's a beautiful city. It has, probably the last Maharaja lived there.
Right.
It has a beautiful palace and a wonderful city. We grew up there. I was born there. And my dad was working in Bombay. I lived in Bombay and worked in Bombay, but my mom, for some reasons, didn't want to go to Bombay to settle down because she wanted us to have a more kind of protected education and upbringing. She wanted to keep us away from all the fast life in Bombay that she had probably seen on a few trips there.
Right.
So that being said, I had an older brother who's 9 years older than me. So he grew up and went to school there. So my mom didn't want us to kind of break school and go. So I continued getting into school and being into school. And until I finished my grade 10.
Right.
And that's when we packed up and moved back to Bombay. And of course, I visited Bombay in between.
Right.
On my aunt's wedding in I think it was 1979 that I came to Bombay, and I liked the hustle bustle of it, but I love the quiet and peace and quiet back home in Mysore.
Right.
So
quite a bit of a contrast there, right?
Yeah, I would go back home and sit down and then say, "Wow, I can hear the birds and I can hear the thing." And in Bombay, at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, you'll hear the milkmen running, the buses. BST buses running, and it was a different life altogether.
Right.
I like the fast pace, but I'm such a person that I adapt very quickly to any environment I'm pushed into.
Right.
So I like it anyway. I love both the places in different ways.
Right.
My dad used to come home every year for Christmas, so that's why I call it the Santa Claus relationship with my dad.
Right.
We only spend the holidays for Christmas when he used to come about 3 weeks. Kind of journey and spend a little time. I don't have too many intimate memories that I can say that I had my dad. I remember him sitting down with me on the stairs outside our house and kind of having a small chat.
Right.
But on the other side of it, I didn't really have my dad on an everyday basis to kind of, like other people say, guide them and walk them and teach them and all that stuff. I
Right.
grew up with my mom, who was, these
That
days we
driving
make fun of
force.
it and call she was like Hitler. She, she, it was, she brought us up with a cane and staff kind of thing,
Right.
but also very loving. So we
Right.
had a neat balance of life there. But I, thank her for, the kind of discipline
Developing.
she inculcated in us and principles
Right.
of life that she taught us.
Right.
And, it worked out well for us. So I
Right.
didn't really miss my dad as such.
Right. Right.
She was my mom and dad.
Right.
So, it was like people call these days single parent upbringing,
Right. Right.
but it wasn't, I didn't think it was abnormal or some kind of problem. It was always great for us.
Right.
So
Right.
coming back, being there, of course, there's that detachment that you've been
Right.
so long away from your dad. And
Right.
ultimately, when we came to settle down back again,
Right.
it was kind of like a tough relationship
Right.
because I didn't know how to talk to him or continue having soft conversations, just very cordial. Yes,
Right.
hello, how are you? Good morning, good evening,
Right.
and not beyond any of that kind of discussion.
Yeah. Right. It was a stranger,
So
so to speak. Right.
yeah, it's strange, but
Yeah.
we never made excuses for that. We
Yeah.
didn't come up with any excuses.
Right.
Saying, "Oh, I didn't have my dad, so
Right.
basically this is why I am this." I went astray.
Yeah.
No, it didn't happen.
Yeah. No, that's a testament, right? Because that's an important piece of information for other people to realize that there's always a better choice, and you don't have to let your past define what it is that you're going to do in your present or even your future, for that matter. Right.
Yeah, and yeah, in many of the conversations I've had with people, they look at me kind of like, "Oh, so you didn't have a dad growing up?
Right.
What was it like?" And it's well, it
Right.
was perfect.
Right.
And like I said, we didn't make any excuses. We just went
Right.
ahead. I was like, my dad wasn't there to take me to college, to
Right.
guide me to college, to tell me what I should take, what I
Right.
should go, because people these days are so dependent on that. They want,
Right.
oh, well, my dad wasn't there for me, so therefore I'm become a loser now.
Right.
So that didn't happen for us. We always went ahead. We thought that was our responsibility. So I
Right.
did that. I went ahead, did what I could
Right.
as I'm going. So
No, and I think
here I am today.
yeah, no, you're doing a phenomenal job. And I know you for some time, and I mean off camera too. So I think you're doing a phenomenal job. I mean,
Thank you.
just switching gears a little bit. So how does that change then your relationship? Because obviously you're now a dad. If you don't mind sharing with our viewers how many children you have.
I have one son,
Yes.
and he's 23 now.
Very nice.
When we came to Canada, he was 8, about 7.5, 8 in grade
Wow.
2.
Right.
So basically, I was very excited for him to bring him here to Canada. And of course, on a funny note, we always throw it back at him and say, "Hey, we came here only because of you." Like any brown guy, dad would
Right. Right.
throw it back at the kids. So yeah, so we came in 2005, and then I was more than him. I think I was excited to take him to all these different programs that were available here. There was you need to go to skating, you need to do basketball. What do you need to do? You need to go to hockey. We put him to hockey. We put him to skating. We put him to everywhere. And so at that time, I was like, there were people helping us. We just came to the country. They're helping us drive us around. So it
Right.
was kind of like an excitement kind of thing for me too. I was like, oh, I'm going to see this hockey thing, and I'm going to see basketball, and which I never had growing up in my life.
Right.
So it was kind of, I was like enjoying the stuff with him together, and
Right.
it seemed to be, a fun thing to do. So I ran from one program to the other, and as you know, in Canada, you come back from work, you try to run.
Right.
You're running here, you're running there, you're trying to put him to this program, and all the kind of programs you want to do.
Right. Right.
And it was fun. It was fun, I must say. I enjoyed it. I took him to the library, which, in our days, we didn't see such a big library.
Right.
The community center for swimming,
Right.
and took him to all these places. It was fun.
That's great. That's awesome. No, I'm glad you shared that experience with us, Alan, because it's, again, for our viewers, it's very important to understand that they're different viewpoints, because we've obviously had other dads on on our show before, and everyone obviously has a different experience. And your experience, that fun experience, and having that viewpoint to say, let's take it from this fun experience, so to speak, and digest it from that sort of angle is amazing. I love it. Thank you for that. Just now switching gears back again to where we were. So obviously that has then impacted how it is that you have transitioned to being a dad, because you're more involved. And how do you then see that has impacted your relationship with your child based on that feedback?
Well, what it does, it gives you a lot of time when you're traveling with him
Right,
to locations, to one location to the other. You're asking him questions, you're asking him how school was, what do they do.
right,
And subconsciously, I was trying to do everything for my son that I didn't have in my life,
right,
or I
right,
didn't get the experience to have. Not that I regretted it or
right,
I feel that I didn't have it. So I'm here enjoying it. Okay, let's have this conversation. How was
right,
school today? What happened in school? And this guy would tell me all sorts of funny things that happened in school, and
right,
sometimes not so funny. So, you know, and Jordan, my son, his name is Jordan. He was very kind of quiet. He was not the, kind of aggressive kid.
right,
But
right,
he was very calm, so to get something out of him, you have to have a lot of conversations.
right,
And so it was a fun thing trying to get things out of him. So you have to ask him many different questions to
right,
get an answer.
right,
And and then slowly the stories would come out. Then we'll all laugh at it
right,
and all that stuff. So, and as a granddad, one of the funny incidents I had is when we just came into Canada and he was sitting outside the house window and looking out on a Tuesday morning.
right,
And we said, "What are you looking at?" And we said, what is that? He said he was looking at the garbage truck.
right,
He has never seen a garbage truck, and
right,
neither am I. That
right,
comes there and takes this garbage of yours and puts it in
right,
the thing, stops there.
right,
He's seen those trucks and toys, so it was
right,
like,
right,
oh, here's the reality. And
right.
then he came down and said, "What do you want to be?" And he said, "I want to be a garbage truck driver." And we laughed. We laughed. But it was fascinating for him. He thought
Yeah,
that was an interesting thing. But and so that's where I inculcated into him
yeah.
the dignity of labor that you have in Canada. So
And that's very true, right? And that's a very
that's
important
what
point.
you need to put into a kid's mind at that time, that hey, you can do anything you want here, and it's
Exactly,
respectful.
exactly.
Back home, being a garbage, if you say someone you collected garbage, you will
Yeah,
like consider the low end of society.
yeah, it's very
But
true.
it's a pretty early lesson that we were teaching him, and he was learning that
Right,
you got to be respectful for everything that you do. It's dignity of labor here, so it
right,
doesn't matter what you do.
right, right. No,
Everything needs
definitely.
a certain amount of intellect to do something.
Definitely. And I mean, everyone's got a place in society, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. But more importantly, garbage collectors make a lot of money in Canada. So I think he was thinking about the early enough,
So
right?
also hear when you go to school and come back, it's so different. They come up with different theories, and
Right,
this theory of being respectful for everybody
right,
and every color, every caste, every creed,
right,
everything they take it so seriously.
right. No,
And
it's important, right?
yeah, and they kind of like they really enjoy that whole thing.
Yeah.
And he comes back home and he keeps giving us lessons, right? Oh, you can't say this, you can't say that. This is not appropriate. That's not appropriate. And I'm like, no, I when we came up, that wasn't, that was okay. Then, no,
Right,
you can't say it.
right, right.
It's okay. You know, this one day he came home and I was trying to refer to a friend of his, and I said, "Oh, that black guy." He said, "Oh, you can't say that.
Right.
You can't say a black guy. What do you mean?"
Yeah,
Okay, so I said,
yeah,
"Oh, it gets into a funny conversation." So
No, it's definitely a learning experience,
It's a
right? And
learning
it's
experience. What I meant to say is
yeah,
learning experience for both of us, right?
yeah, definitely for him and for you, because
Yeah,
I mean, he's obviously grown up in this reality where everything is, it's everyone is valued and everyone is accepted for who they are. And then, having that, that disparity with the yeah, with the upbringing that you had right back home, and that that difference.
yeah.
I can fully see it. No, definitely. But fun moments, fun experiences and fun memories to share, right? We wouldn't have had a lovely interview to have this conversation about, right? Now, just again, moving into that space where you transitioned from what it is that you were doing. What were you doing back home? Like, what was your job profile? Were you in the same product development and sales?
Yeah, for what 25, 30 years back home, I was into manufacture and export of ready-made garments.
Okay,
Ready-made garments at that time from India was a big spot. India
right.
was a big exporter of ready-made garments, and I was, being the kind of creative person I was,
Mhm.
I liked the fashion industry. I got thrown into that by mistake.
Right,
I kind of got pushed into it by error.
right,
But that turned out to be a really great error because it kind of rechanged my whole life,
right,
being in the fashion industry. So
right,
the fashion industry, the way I liked it is because I'm not a guy who likes numbers or spreadsheets or look at the same thing every day.
right,
I can't do that.
right,
And the fashion industry was the best and most appropriate place for me to be because every 6 months there was a new fashion, there was a new
correct,
color, new trend, there was a new design. So
right,
everything was new, and the pace was really fast.
right,
And you can't afford to like lose even minutes because everything is changing. It's time sensitive.
right,
You got to deliver certain goods at a certain time. If not, it's out of fashion.
right, right,
And it doesn't reach the customer in time. It's not making the season.
right,
It's not understanding. So basically, I was dealing with that kind of fashion from all over the world, like Europe,
right,
US, Canada, Hong Kong. So basically, I visited about, I was doing 7 to 8 trips a year worldwide,
right.
visiting about 6 trade fairs every year,
Wow,
uh, understanding fashion, sitting with customers,
wow,
uh, coming up with new trends and doing my own product development. So that's where my product development background came, is
right,
I started doing a lot of stuff that their design team would probably do back home for them.
right, right,
And in me, they saw something that they could, get away with, just even we were offering that service to them without them paying for it.
right,
So I
right,
used to do all the design lineup sheets and show to them, and they liked something and they picked the colors from other.
right.
I had probably about a 98% success rate, basically,
Wow,
what I created
right.
that went into production. So I love that whole fast trend life that
Yeah.
I.
So now obviously you were in fashion, and then now when you came here, were you completely then did you directly transition back to same fashion, or were you now into a
Not
different
really.
space?
So when I first came, I was contemplating for the first 6 months what to do.
Yeah.
First things, I got a lot of offers from the factories I used to work back home as to
Right.
represent them, rep them, and kind of do sales for them.
Right.
I explored that whole concept. The problem that we were having with the Canadian way of life,
Right.
and the factories back home, where that they were not able to put down money for me every month to
Right.
run my house.
Right.
They wanted to do it based on a commission basis, which it'll take me 2 years to come to some level where I start getting some commission in my
Correct.
bank.
Correct.
So at the end of 4 or 5 months, I decided that I guess I need to take a job here
Yeah.
and go that route. This thing is not going to work out for me.
Right.
That's when I started actively looking for, just looking out for jobs.
Right.
And I I said, well, this is the month I'm going to start looking for a job. And I remember the month very clearly. It was the May of 2006.
Right.
And I said, okay, what do I do? And I went to a program that one thing I went and did a lot of things here. In the 6 months I was here, I don't think if I mentioned it, but I'm also an artist. I paint.
Right.
So when I came into Canada, I had a few of my works here that were lying, sitting down. When I used to come on holiday here, I used to paint. It was here, and I asked one of the social workers who were helping us if there was any kind of program that I could exhibit my art.
Right.
And funny enough, at that time there was a program for new immigrant artists coming into Canada. It was called I think ART,
Okay. Yeah.
Artist Rally for something. It was,
Right. Right.
but it was a program for new immigrant artists. So
Yeah.
wow, I said, great. What do I do? And they said, well, show up with your artwork and we'll exhibit it at certain places.
Right.
So it was fun. I was running from one exhibition to the other. They did at Mississauga, at Bolton,
Mm-hmm.
and at Brampton.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one more place, I don't remember where it was, but yeah, it was about 4 places that we exhibited. And then we had I had a little good coverage for that first 6 months. It was like
Right.
Toronto Star had me on at our group on there.
Mm-hmm.
Brampton newspaper, Mississauga newspaper had us on the
Nice.
newspaper. So I got a little exposure there, a little
Nice.
lucky
Nice.
there.
Yeah.
That was good. But like I said, I started looking out for a job, and
Right.
I learned from an earlier program that I went to.
Right.
Also took advantage from the local community here, how to write your resume, how to have an interview, all that stuff. Because I never wrote a resume in my life.
Right.
It was all
Right.
word of mouth back home. Everyone knew
Right.
you, and they called you, and you got a job. So
Right. Right.
it was brand new for me. Like so,
Yeah.
yeah. I started writing my resume and started going around, and I got my first break very interestingly. Actually, it was my neighbor's party.
Right.
I happened to be, I knew to play the guitar, so they were jamming. So I kind of went on an Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
We were playing in our backyard, and they were playing in their backyard. And they said,
Yeah.
"Hey," they looked over the fence. Said, "Why don't you guys come over this side?" And I said, "Okay, no problem. We'll." I went over to the other side, and then I think that was history, because I started playing. And after I played, we had a lot of fun that afternoon. And then
Yeah.
one of the ladies asked me, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm new to the country. I'm looking for a job, and if you know anyone, let me know." And she said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, this is what I did."
Right.
She said, "Okay, give me your resume." And she took my resume and went. And I never knew what she was and who she was. And she
Yeah.
was a cousin of my neighbor.
Right.
Well, apparently she was a hiring manager at Walmart,
Right.
and she gave me my first break.
Right.
So
Right.
I thought that was great. And then I also had applied for Home Depot. So I got called by Home Depot to join on the same date.
Right. Right.
And so now I was in a fix. I had 2 jobs, right?
Yeah.
I said, what do I do? So I said,
Right.
okay, I've got to figure this out. So
Right.
I went to my Walmart office, and I had told them, I said, well, I got another job at Home Depot, but it's in the store. And they said, well, it's not a conflict of interest. You're selling paints there, so it's okay.
Right.
I was in the paint
Right.
floor.
Right. Right.
So primarily for a year, I did 2 jobs.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I worked in the morning from 8 to 5
Right.
p.m. From 5:30, I came home, freshened up. 5:30, I was 5:45, I was rushing to Home Depot,
Right.
and I worked till 11 at night.
Wow.
And weekends, I worked the weekends full hours, because that got me the full hours, and I got some more money. And
Right.
my idea was to kind of get more money, as much money as I can, and not use the little that I brought.
Right.
So, just to pay my bills and keep me going. So I took the 2 jobs, and for 1 year I didn't go out anywhere, didn't go to any picnics, no camping, no. My wife and my son went for a few, but I didn't go.
You were
Kind
committed
of
to
just
the goal.
establishing myself in the country, trying to establish myself. And,
Right.
I had made my vow when I came here that come what may, I'm not going back.
Right. Right.
So, I'm going to do whatever it takes, even if it takes me to wipe the tables at McDonald's, which, again comes dignity of labor.
Right.
I was going to do that. I was going to make it work any which way. I was not going to go back.
Yeah. It's that
So,
perseverance, right? And that's the only thing that actually allows people to actually, to move forward. Otherwise, a lot of people come here and get defeated. It's so easy to do that, right?
yeah, because I found a lot of friends, a lot of acquaintances that I talked to at that point of time were like, oh, back home I had this and I had that and I had servants and I had all this
Right.
maids and I had everything and I'm very depressed here and you have
Right.
to do everything myself. And I'm like, guys, you knew what you're getting into before you came
Right.
here.
Right.
Good
No,
luck to you.
definitely. It's definitely a very, very challenging space, for a lot of people. But I think you come with a very great attitude, and I think it's a great viewpoint for our viewers to see that even though you had all of that and you came here because of your mindset, you were able to accomplish it, regardless of the hard work, regardless of the sacrifice. And those are things that we keep discussing, right? Patriarchy to partnership, and this piece of partnership where you feel that as a dad having to provide for your family and do your part. So kudos to you. I mean, it's really really amazing that you
Well,
took.
there's also a little selfish motive in that because I also enjoyed the work I did because,
Right.
I
Right.
went every day and had fun at Home Depot.
Right.
Though I worked, the whole day at Walmart,
Right.
it had a different fun there in the
Right.
home office. And then I was enjoying myself and having lots of fun. I learned a lot of things at Home Depot that, I never did back home. Painting the walls and how you paint the walls and how
Right.
you,
Right.
what do you have to put there. Lots of funny moments. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So I
So
really
what
enjoyed
what
it.
do you have as advice then, like words of wisdom for our brown dads? Like what would you say is your biggest takeaways from your experience that you'd like to share with our viewers as we're in that wind down mode?
I would say that one thing is you got to make your mind up like I did, not to go back, to make it, you're going to make it here.
Right.
And I said, first thing, if you have that attitude, everything's going to fall in place and everything's going to work out. So do it with pleasure, do it with the fun, enjoy every moment of it because it's a lot different working here than working back home. The kind
Right.
of people you work with, you meet different people from different countries
Right.
and you have different kind of fun aspects of it. So I would say just enjoy every moment when you first come here
Yeah.
and you know as you work. But I always look back at it and say, you know what, everything here is better than what I had back in my time, my
Right.
place. Not that it was, and I have this attitude, like I said, I kind of adapt to situations.
Right.
If I'm
Right.
back in a situation that I don't like today, I'll find something nice with it. You got to find something that makes you happy in that situation and live with it. So it's not that you can change it. So you sometimes you can't change that environment. You got to change yourself.
Right. Right.
Either you change the environment or get out of it.
Right. Right.
That's what I advise people is that change your attitude and get
Everything will
more
change around.
positive
Yeah.
and make a lot of friends and understand people, right? You not that you're going to continue doing what you do every day, but you learn a lot with meeting with
I
people, understanding them.
One of my favorite quotes is you can't have a positive life with a negative attitude. Right.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Right. Right.
absolutely.
Right.
If you don't have a positive attitude, it's not going to get you anywhere.
It's 100%.
I just think that's a great way of doing something.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, Alan, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all these lovely tidbits, and this lovely journey that you've taken us on. I do hope that I'm able to interview you because there's a lot of depth of other stuff that we want to obviously get into, even with the art and things of that sort. What I am going to do though in the interview, on the bottom of our interview, in the comments below, in the description below, we will have your links and your social if anyone wants to contact you for any of the artwork that you do, and if they need to get a hold of you, they'll know to do so. Okay.
Absolutely, anytime,
Yeah.
anytime. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much, Raina.
Alan, it was an absolute pleasure, and to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in again, and have a wonderful day from our production at Brown Net. Take care.